You are watching Jenny's Biblical Messages, and my name is Jenny Malm. And we have been going through the book of Esther. It's been a couple of days now. I've been at a conference and doing some things. And we are at the end of Esther now. So we are going to go through today chapters 8, 9, and 10. So if you don't know the story and you want to go back, then you can go back at my videos and watch the other videos that will kind of bring you up to speed to this one. So we are starting now the king's edict on behalf of the Jews. So we're starting in chapter 8. This is verse 1 and 2. That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. So Haman was high up in the king's court. Haman is now dead, and now the king is on Mordecai, and he is now high up, a noble in the king's court. And Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. So Haman had this house. Now it's Mordecai's. Queen Esther begged the king to help her people. So the king's doing good on behalf of Queen Esther and her cousin Mordecai, but now she's begging for the freedom of her people and that they will be able to live, because Haman had put something out to all of the other provinces that they were going to kill all of the Jews. So now Queen Esther has to backtrack, and she has to beg him to let the Jews live, and not only live, but to be free. So verse 7 says, King Xerxes replied to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jews, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given his estate to Esther, and they have impaled him on the pole he set up. They killed him. Now, write another decree in the king's name on behalf of the Jews as it seems best to you. He's giving all of this authority over to Queen Esther and Mordecai. And seal it with the king's signet ring, for no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can ever be revoked. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. Then it goes on to say, when Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments. He's a high noble now. Royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa had joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness, and honor. And many people of other nationalities became Jews because of the fear the Jews had seized them. All right. So I want to explain something here. Many of the other nationalities became Jews because of the fear the Jews had seized on them. This is a couple of things here. One, we don't want to bring people to our religion because of fear. We don't want to bring people to Christianity because of fear. But if you've been watching my messages, earlier last week, a couple of weeks ago, I did a whole message on the signs of the end times, the things that we need to be prepared for. That's going to happen. And one of those things is people are going to threaten Christians and tell us that there's going to be an antichrist. So there's going to be an antichrist, whatever religion he's going to be. He's really going to be of Satan. That's who the antichrist is. And he is going to make this threat to anybody who believes in God will be killed. and everybody has to come to him and bow to him. And that's the whole thing that was going on with Haman and Mordecai. If you remember at the beginning of Esther, Mordecai refused to bow down to Haman because he will not bow down to anybody except for God. That is in the Bible. That's what God tells us to do, not to put anybody as an idol over him. So this, as you can see, and if you know the Bible or if you read the Bible, what happens is history keeps repeating itself. So history is, again, it had already happened back when the Jews became a nation, and now it's happening again here in Esther, and that's why Esther was raised up as queen. That's why God raised her up as queen, was to save the Jews. He couldn't let all the Jews die. Those were his people. So he had to keep them living. So he had to find somebody that was going to obey him and do the message that he needed to go out to the nation. And now, as we come up on end times, and the reason we know we're coming up on end times is because there are signs of the end times that are in the Bible that are happening now. You can go back and read that if you'd like to. Okay, so now we're going to start chapter 9. So on this day, the enemy of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but now the tables were turned and the Jews got the upper hand over those who hated them. And all the nationalities were now afraid of the Jews. A couple of chapters ago, everybody was going to go after the Jews and kill them all. Well, now they were afraid because of what the king's edict said, that the king didn't even write. As he gave Esther and Mordecai the right to do that. It's miraculous. It's miraculous how God uses people and puts everybody in place to make it all work. Mordecai was prominent in the palace. His reputation spread throughout the provinces, and he became more and more powerful. The Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. The king said to Esther, "The Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men and the sons of Haman in the citadel of Susa." So now the Jews in Susa came together on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and they put to death in Susa 300 more men. But they did not lay hands on their plunder. So they killed the people, but they didn't steal their things. Meanwhile, the remainder of the Jews who were in the king's provinces also assembled to protect themselves and get relief from their enemies. On a whole, the Jews killed 75,000 people. This happened on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and the 14th they rested, and they made that day of feasting and joy. The whole lesson of Esther is when God calls you to do something, are you going to obey him or not? If you obey him, you're going to be blessed beyond blessed. But if you don't obey him, he's going to find somebody else who is going to obey him, and then you're missing out on the blessings that God wants to give you. And you can look at this in a lot of different areas, but like with finances, with your family, with just what you're supposed to do in the church, whatever God lays in your heart. And sometimes I say, when God talks to you, well, sometimes, very rarely do you hear an audible voice. Sometimes I have to get out a notebook and have to write things down because I just have all this stuff that's just like I'm thinking about, but it's all kind of jumbled up. And I realize that, because he's told me enough times, that I have to get my notebook out and write it all down because he wants me to know what he's saying. I can't obey him if I don't understand what he wants me to do. So for me, that's how he talks to me a lot. I've also been given visions. I'm getting more and more dreams. But I'm also doing things and praying more, and I'm getting in his presence more. So the more you are in his presence, the more he can talk to you, the more intimate you are with him. So the story of Queen Esther is that she was made for that time. God purposely put her on the earth, gave her the situation of her parents dying and her going to her cousin Mordecai and moving and going to this place, and then the queen not obeying the king, and so the king gets rid of that queen and he needs a new queen, and Esther becomes queen. There's just all of these things that you look at and you see when you read something like this, that this is not God's promises. Is not just like a one and done deal. Like, there's a lot that has been put into place. There's a lot of people that God puts into place and moves around, almost like a chess game. He's moving people around, and he's seeing who is going to obey him, who is not going to obey him. And those are the people that he brings then for the blessing, because they are going to do his word. So I hope that you learned something, that you got something out of the book of Esther, and I hope that it has blessed you. Have a blessed day, everybody.